Hello, and welcome to the Steve and Mark Discuss podcast, where you can hear a boomer and an ex-genner discuss something and sometimes politely disagree with each other. Anyway, as normal, Steve will bring up a subject he thinks is interesting. He will do a 5-minute introduction for it, and I will react. And Steve might react to my reactions. We don't shout at each other. You will notice that yet. Okay, over to Steve.
Hi, people. So, as in 2018, a man in a dress said, "Bring power back to women." That was the beginning of the end, I think, of the Miss or Ms. Universe contest. The owner of the Miss Universe contest is a lady, man, called Jack Fong and Jakrayutatip. And they have a company called JKN, and it filed for bankruptcy recently in Thailand, which is the owner of this competition. Now this, I'll call him An because it's easier than calling him Jackafong all the time. Anne thought it a good idea to mix these unusual people into a beauty pageant for women, and it didn't really get accepted all that well. Who can imagine? So this year, two men dressed in women's clothing. One was called Marina Machete. She's Portuguese. She is Portuguese.
Okay, yeah, we'll go for it.
She's an air hostess or cabin crew.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's odd because during a long while, women have tried to get rid of the stigma of being called an air hostess, and now a bloke is trying to be a woman.
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah. The irony is.
So I suppose to meet Marina, you'd have to get a tap flight. Tap.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll watch out for it next Recife to London flight, I take. And the second one was a Ms. Cole from the Netherlands. And they also had what I would class as a fat girl. But some more politically correct people would call her a plus size model.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm sure that she's eating more McDonald's than she is vegetables. Let's put it that way. Named Jane Dupika. Jane Dupika Garrett from Nepal.
Okay.
Now, it might be, that she's quite slim for a Nepalese.
Yeah, I mean,
I really don't know. I've not been to Nepal, and I don't know if having a fuller figure, or a really fuller figure in her case, is a sign of beauty.
yeah.
I mean, it must be because she passed the Nepal phase of this universe.
Yeah, she got that. Yeah, it's a democratic vote on the face of it. So yeah.
So either all the other women were either really really skinny and being bigger is seen as a cause of something of beauty, or all the other competitors were really really fat. And and was struggling to go on the catwalk. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah.
There was also one other Miss Universe. You know, you got to go the whole hop. There was one.
Yeah.
There was one competitor called Muna Jana.
Mm.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of that name before. And she wore a kaftan during the swimsuit part of the competition. They have an evening gown and
Yeah.
a bikini or a swimsuit,
Yeah.
and she preferred to use a kaftan because she's a Muslim
Mm.
and she can't. She's entered in a beauty pageant where she can't show off her beauty.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
It's a bit of an oxymoron, that, but
Yeah.
And she actually was representing, believe it or not, the UK. So,
Okay. Well, I think it's representative. I don't know about you. I'm looking.
well,
Yeah.
well, apparently, about the UK, about Muslims in the UK, and the I read in the Daily Mail, just to snippet this quick, that first cousins marrying in the Muslim community has got down to 46%.
Yeah. Okay.
10 years ago, it was 60%. So keeping it in the family, it's
Well,
starting to branch out.
the gene pool's widening, so as they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting wider. Yeah.
More selection.
Yeah.
So, and this lady from the UK, she can say her measurements as much as she likes, but you couldn't actually see if what she was saying is true.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I did see an image of her, and she did seem to have rather large thighs, but that might have been the way the camera caught her.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So this Anne coming back, the owner of the pageant, she's Thai, or he's Thai, and in Thailand, lady boys are quite common.
Yeah.
Quite common.
Like I've heard stories. Yes.
So the people who don't know what a ladyboy is watching this, look at the film Hangover 2, and you'll see a whole host of ladyboys in that film. But anyway, they're actually called cathois. Cathois. It's a more polite. Apparently, ladyboy is more of a sort of a vulgar term.
Yeah, it is a bit derogatory.
For these, for all intents and purposes, are transvestites.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But they do have a Miss Kathoi Universe contest every year in Thailand, just for Kathois.
I think that's fair enough. Yeah.
Ladyboys, if you like to call them that. And you would have thought that perhaps Anne could have done a Kathoi Universe, Miss Kathoi Universe, universal, instead of trying to infiltrate these Kathois into the women, because I mean the top 20 of the top 20, they had like 30 or 40 of the ladies, and then out of those 20, 30, 40, out of those 30 or 40 went the top 20, and then you got the who's going to get crowned.
Yeah.
And so into the top 20 went this flight attendant, the Dutch girl, and the Nepalese, and even the British representative. So imagine if you didn't get classified to the top 20, that you got beat by two blokes and a fat chick.
Well,
I mean,
okay, yes, isn't it? Yeah.
and somebody wearing a sack. You know, I
Well,
mean, it begs to the humiliation of these ladies.
well,
I'm sure it'll probably be the last beauty pageant that they'll enter
right.
uh, because they're beaten by these. But anyway, that's my introduction. Away you go. Have fun with that one.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, you know more about this Miss Universe than I do. I would admit. I see headlines. I'm not. I've never.
I have to investigate this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not something I follow.
Yeah. You've looked into it. Okay. Yeah. It is. I must admit. I mean, I've known about it, and obviously partly grew up with it. Never really. It was never on in my house. I, members of my family in Brazil watched it, and my wife's mother, when she was about, she was a bit surprised I wasn't watching it. It's not something that's really appealed to me, and I'm not saying I don't blame the girls for entering. They do, it's personal choice. I'm not saying they think the other side of it all is they're actually given intelligence or not intelligence tests. That's a bit patronised, but yeah, they are seeing personality as well as part of it. So, which I think is all round okay. Yeah, I mean, beauty is something that has been around, well, since the human existence, since Adam like looked at Eve and liked what he saw, possibly. Um, yeah, but it's again, beauty is always subjective. Now, yes, it is a business. It was once owned by a certain other famous businessman.
Donald Trump.
Okay, yeah, it's a brand.
Universe.
Yeah,
Universe.
as it is. Yeah, I know he had one of them, but yeah, it's a. But you know, if they want to organise a business the way they want to organise, if people are interested and watch it, and I believe in this, then they'll watch it. It'll enter. Yeah, people will buy TV rights or watch it on telly. If people aren't interested because of business decisions or other decisions that are made, so be it. Yeah, you live and die by what you do. And these organisations are doing it. It does give opportunity to a lot of these girls who probably look at it. A lot of them are graduates and things like this, and they go on to have other lives as well. So I'm not objecting to it. It's a bit like anything. Yeah, I've been around. I've hung around girls that do the racing car pits in the past, pit girls and things like that. They choose to do it. They have a good. They enjoy it. Yeah, fair enough. Now, again, it's the same argument as in women's sport. The joke was not the joke. The saying expression was, in women's sport, where now the swimming federations and other physical sport federations are now saying the sport is for women, biological women, and put constraints on that it was almost impossible for somebody that isn't a woman to actually qualify for. Okay, now they've made that decision because, well, really the women were threatening to not participate anymore. Yeah, it would have killed women's sport. Um, it's the same. You got even at the moment still headlines about women's rugby. With all due respect, I'm not a rugby player. I could probably knock a lot of men over if I ran into them my size. I could certainly knock a majority of women over. Yeah. So again, that's looking to sport. Now this is extension of it, and I think it was Megan Kelly and others I saw said us women now are even getting beaten with, as you said, with beauty, with something that should be the prerogative of women. I mean, yeah, us men could have probably the same thing if you want to say, yeah, men can enter a beauty contest. There's nothing stopping anyone organising it and doing it. The funny thing I do think about all this and this survey is that women like to see attractive women as well. Whatever reason, it's not checking it out. It's not perverse. It doesn't mean anything. Women just like to see women as well. Women admire beauty. I can't see. I mean, okay, we know about the lady boys. Sometimes you've got to do a double take to sometimes think, hang on, yeah. Otherwise, no, I'm not going into crudities on this podcast. It's hardly the place.
Not on hangover too, you don't.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah. I honestly believe, and I'm gonna do the headline statement to finish. Everyone should stay in their own lane with things like this and sport. men at men's lane, women in women's lane. If you want to have a cross thing, have a separate competition for it, quite frankly, as you said. And if that's what people want, that's what they'll have. It does seem, there does seem a lot of things at the moment. Now, I did also read, and I do think this is quite prevalent to this, even this whole thing here. Civilizations that start questioning their own sexuality is the beginning of the end. It was the beginning of the end of the Greek civilization. It's the beginning of the end of the Roman, possibly others as well. We are in very much a danger of being there, and a lot bigger than just the Roman Empire or Greek Empire, an entire third of the world possibly.
There's a documentary on YouTube about that, just about the very same thing.
Yeah.
What makes civilizations end?
Yeah, and it's all part of it. And this questioning whom we are